He's a dad. He's separated from his wife. He has a restraining order against his ex-wife.
So he already getting like stalker vibes. Hello everyone and welcome to Perspectives. My name is Abigail and I'm here today with a wonderful guest.
Hi everyone, I'm Christina.
And today I just wanted to talk to Christina really about, online dating and, just navigating online dating and making real connections online. So what are your experiences?
Oh man. So I was in two very long-term relationships back to back. And when I was 25, I decided that I was going to take a break. And so I started doing online dating, and I wrote a blog about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because I had a lot of experiences that a lot of people thought were very unique. I have a lot of bad luck.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. It was a way to get out kind of the frustration that I had with online dating.
So tell us some of these stories, because I know that I have this anxiety when it comes to going online to Tinder or Bumble, and I'm always scared that I could just meet the one-off crazy person. So
there's some interesting humans out there for sure. I used everything. I used Tinder, Bumble. I was on Plenty of Fish, which highly do not recommend.
Okay.
Highly do not recommend Plenty of Fish. And I also signed up for a free Match.com. I think a free trial for that one too. So I never paid for any
I've never even
services.
heard of these.
Yeah, they were. There's new ones now too. There's Hinge, which is new.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
the one that's meant to be deleted.
Yes. So knowing all those different apps, and I decided to try all of them, and then I wrote about my experiences in my blog, and it was called How to Be Single.
How to Be Single.
Yeah.
I should read up on it.
Yeah. I think it's still out there. It's at wordpress.com. So, but yeah, so I had some really interesting experiences with some very different humans.
Tell us about that. I want to know. Give us tell us your worst dating experience.
Okay. Probably one of the worst ones, or the most odd ones, was the guy decided to take me to the university for our date. This was at night. So, I mean, there were so many red flags during these dates.
Wait. So this was on Tinder, or?
This one was on Tinder, yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this one was on Tinder. He decided to take me to the university for a date, and he wanted to show me all of the ductwork. So all of the vents in the university for our first date.
Interesting.
Yes, because that was what he did for a job, and he decided to take me on a little tour.
Interesting.
Yeah. So as we're walking through the university at night.
First date.
I'm alone with this person. This was very
It's already giving me very
creepy
negative vibes.
Yeah, so anyway, so we went through the whole university. And he asked me to come back to his car so we could smoke some weed. And I declined. But we decided to go for a drive instead. And so, again, I'm alone in a car with someone I've never met before.
Yeah.
Another red flag.
How long had you guys been talking before?
A couple days.
Couple days, okay.
Yeah, so don't do what I did. But it makes for good stories.
Yeah,
so,
it does.
Yeah, so as we're driving around after he's already offered me drugs, we've talked about the ductwork, at this point you think that I would be smart and just be like, man, I'm going home. No, I decided to go for a drive with him. So as we're driving, I find out that he also has 2 children.
Okay, so he's a dad.
He's a dad. He's separated from his wife. He has a restraining order against his ex-wife.
So he already getting stalker vibes. And
yeah. And he wants to take me on this first date to meet his children.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, at this point I was like, no, it's fine. I gotta go back home. I have a dog I gotta let out.
After the just being in the car and the what's it called, offering you weed and everything, he wanted to take you home to go meet his kids.
Yeah.
Someone he's never met before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, at this point I was like, okay, date's over. I gotta go. So I always use the excuse of my dog. It was always great to be able to use her. So anyways, he drives me back to the car, and then I just ghost him. I never speak to this guy again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah. That's one of the strangest ones.
Yeah. Have you ever like been on a date with someone that had like some weird behavioral issues like narcissism and
I think like I was fortunate enough that like I would always pick up on that in the messages. So I mean, like, you know, you would get messages on Tinder especially where a lot of them weren't very pleasant, especially if you declined. And like there's a lot of gaslighting, of course.
Yeah.
And so gaslighting is when, you know, they use their toxic behavior and they make you think that you're crazy.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that on there. I don't really recommend it, obviously, and like narcissistic traits and behavior, you hopefully will be able to pick up, but a lot of the time they are charmers. So
yeah, because the thing is like everyone has different, like it's not the same in everyone, right? So some people have like this grandiose, inflated sense of like importance, right?
Yes.
And other people it's like the subtle, it's like so subtle and you won't be able to even like tell, right?
Yeah.
So like some people just want so much attention, and I don't know how to see these things. Like sometimes I just feel like it's people being people, so I wouldn't be able to tell these things. So like I feel so scared going on Tinder or Bumble or any of these apps just because of I'm scared I'm just gonna meet someone crazy, or like I'm gonna go on a date. And mind you, I personally believe that I'm very, should I say I'm spiritual in a way?
Yeah.
And I believe that there's certain people whose star isn't supposed to cross with yours. And I just feel like social media allows for everyone to have access.
Absolutely.
And I know that Tinder, as long as they swipe and you're like, oh, and you swipe too, like you both can make a connection, right? And I just feel like social media just gives that opportunity for people to have access to you that shouldn't necessarily you shouldn't have even crossed like paths with them at all.
Yeah.
So it's very, I don't know, it's very interesting. I don't think I can summon the courage to like join.
I think like with social media too, you have to be able to weed out like those things. Yeah, and like those negative traits. So you have to be able to like ask the right questions. You have to be able to pry. You have to be able to not just like give in to somebody wanting to meet you just, you know,
randomly.
Just randomly.
Yeah.
Like it's important to build on to your conversation.
That's true.
Right? And but like it kind of comes from both sides. Like you have to be able to be vulnerable and open in your texting and communication.
Yeah.
Because so much of like us nowadays, like that is our communication. We don't sit there and we don't send letters. You know, we don't handwrite letters to our loved ones anymore. Like that's not what we do, and we don't even really send emails anymore unless you're working.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we have to do is our personalities have to come across in our texts.
That's true.
In our emojis, in our social media even.
So how can you tell that someone is like, I don't want to...
I don't think you ever really can. And that's kind of the whole thing with relationships too, is like whether you meet someone in a bar, on the street, or like in social media, you really don't know what that person is truly about.
Yeah, that's true. Even, you know what, I'm talking about Tinder, and you know that is actually important in like any relationship, regardless of if it was Tinder or you actually met the person in person.
Yeah.
But it actually, I think it's very important to be able to tell the kind of person that they are from just like, you know, speaking to them and asking questions. So I think that's important. Because I will say there was this one person I went on a date with that like he just, the very first day he's already telling me about all these like imagine just meeting someone for the first time. And then like, you know, taking the person out on a date, and then the first thing that they tell you is about all that they've achieved in life, you know. And then I was like, oh, you must be so excited that you achieved all these things at first. That's what I thought.
Right.
And I was just like, you must be so excited about all these things you've achieved. But then you go as far as saying like, oh, like, have you been to this country? And I'm like, no. I said, oh, have you been to this other country? And I'm like, no. He's like, oh, don't worry, I'm gonna take you. I'm like, I don't think that this is normal.
No.
I don't think that this is normal at all. But anyways, so now you have a boyfriend, so you're no longer single.
No, we're engaged actually.
Oh,
so, yeah.
That is nice.
Yeah, so we got engaged in February this year.
That is great. Yeah. Congratulations,
Thank you.
girl.
Thanks. Yeah, and yeah, we met on Instagram.
Oh, so online nonetheless.
Kind of online, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way that him and I met actually was like totally random. I had just like kind of, I was in this spot in my life where, you know, I was with the blog and I was doing all this stuff and I was just tired. I was emotionally drained. I was so tired of going out on all these dates and just like constantly being let down.
Yeah.
And, you know, like even conversations and stuff on Tinder and Bumble, you're constantly being let down and it kind of gets to you.
Yeah, that rejection.
Exactly.
Definitely.
So I was at a point where I was like, you know what, like, let's just take a break. No more blog. Let's just, you know, do you. Self-improvement. I was like going to the gym all the time. And so I was just on Instagram scrolling through the YQR hashtag because I was trying to find pictures of dogs because I wanted to do.
Christina loves dogs.
Yeah, I have 2 of them now. Yeah. Well, one's Josh is my fiance's.
Okay.
So, but anyway, so I was scrolling through and I saw a picture of Coda, which is my fiance's dog.
Oh.
And she's a white husky and she's just so happy. She's got 2 different colored eyes. She's just absolutely beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And so I clicked on her and then I looked at his profile. And I was like, oh, this guy's quite cute. I was like, oh, he's really attractive. And, you know, he's going to the university. He's not overly younger than me. Josh is younger than me, but not by a lot. And he was going to school for justice studies or police studies at that time. So I was like, you know what, like, let's just give this guy a follow. You never know. So as time kind of went on, I creeped his photos, obviously. And I found out that he had tagged a relative of mine in one of his photos.
Oh.
And it turns out that his best friend is actually one of my cousins.
Oh.
So it's just like a super small world.
Yeah.
So his best friend is one of my cousins. So after that, like, we really started talking. It took us probably 3 months of talking before we even met in person. Because we really were just, I mean, we weren't really looking for anything at this point.
Yeah.
Him and I.
So wait, did you hit him up or? Okay. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
We're just gonna. Oh no, you know what? I'm gonna let you finish your story, and I have another question I'm gonna ask.
No, yeah. So I decided to message him first. We ended up adding each other on Snapchat because at that time, I think like even like people were putting their Snapchats on Instagram, so you got more followers. So we added each other on Snapchat, and then we ended up snapping, and that's how we talked mostly.
That's nice. You put yourself out there, and you know, like. How were you scared of rejection? Like knowing that you already like tried like Tinder and like meeting people in so many other places, were you scared at some point that, you know, if you're like messaging the man, because you know, mostly when you're initiating a date, it's the man that's like hitting you up, trying to, but like it was the opposite for you and you're getting engaged. So obviously that didn't matter.
Yeah.
So like, were you scared of that, you know, rejection?
Yeah. Like I think at that time, I just like wanted to reach out to him because like I really liked his dog. I was like, let's go to the dog park together. Like,
okay, so it wasn't anything serious. It was just like a mutual
I didn't know if he had a
love for
girlfriend.
dogs.
I didn't know if he had a wife. Like, I had no idea at this point. I was just like,
I just like your dog.
I like your dog. Yeah. Your dog and my dog can get along.
No, I like that. I like that a lot. I find that super interesting. So obviously good things do come out of sliding in people's DMs.
Exactly. You just gotta take the leap sometimes.
Yeah, and I feel like also it's like knowing, just not feeling like it's too serious. Like by the time you start to overthink things and say, oh, like, you know, I'm gonna hit this person up for X and X reason, then it like takes away from that like organic relationship that you can potentially build, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then also, I think for another thing I wanted to bring up was also the I feel like social media and like looking for a partner online, it's kind of like the way you paint yourself that determines, should I say, that determines how that person sees you at first, right? So before the person even gets to meet you, they get a sense of who you are from your bio, from like, I don't know how Tinder works. There's a description of yourself, right?
Yeah, you have a description and pictures. You can go through pictures and put different descriptions for each photo.
So there's multiple photos, or like, so then again, people can post pictures that aren't even really them.
Yep. You can change your age on there. You know, there's like lots of people that say they're older or younger than they actually are.
Yeah. Did you ever have a time where you met someone and it just wasn't even who you met, like who you had been
No, thankfully.
Yeah.
No. Thank goodness.
Because I've definitely heard horror stories about stuff like that, right?
Where you walk in and you're like, you're in a green jacket and that's not the guy that's in the photo. Yeah, like, is this the right table? Yeah, no, that never happened to me, thankfully. But I like, my friend has had that happen to her for sure.
Jeez. So I find that really interesting what happened. Just going on his Instagram, just like the way you did. But I feel like, Instagram, especially Instagram, is a place where you can kind of build your identity separate from who you actually are. And that can let people have unrealistic expectations of you. Say you post like a couple hot photos here and there. This was pre-COVID and now it's COVID and like things are rough.
Yeah. And like Instagram is such a highlight reel. You know, you're only posting your best sides, your best selfies.
Exactly.
All of your best stuff. And so if you meet someone, they might not look that way, or they might not have the sense of humor that you have already like put into your brain.
That you had. They had, yeah. So I feel like, I don't know, like it's a bother for me because then I just know that there's a difference between Instagram and reality. People are not what they appear to be on Instagram, and people are very different from what they are or what they present themselves to be on social media. People even look different. Some people can be more photogenic and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So that unrealistic expectation, and then when they get to meet you, they get disappointed, and then they're like, "Oh, she's a catfish." All these things. I don't know. But now you're engaged.
Yes.
So that's good.
Yeah.
So are you guys living together or?
Yes. Yeah. We've been living together for 2 years now.
Oh.
So before even like we got into a relationship, we decided that we were going to be friends for a year. So
that was wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
It's so smart to build a friendship before you step into a relationship.
Yes. And I've heard that the best relationships actually come from friendships because you get to know the person for who they really are.
Yeah. And like Josh is my best friend. Like he's the first person I call if anything good goes like well, or if anything goes bad. He's always the first person that I call.
That's the best kind of relationship, guys.
100%. Like I spend so much time. You have to spend, especially during COVID. Yeah.
Exactly. So you guys were living together. Do you find that now that you're living together after being friends for, like you said, a year, do you find that there was this codependency?
I think
because now your decisions are based off of, well, is it Josh? Well, Josh is at home now, so I can't go out for this party, or like I have to make sure Josh is good with me going with this party first.
Yeah, like I think that's why you build the friendship, right? Like, so if there is like a party, if I'm not going with him, like I kind of don't want to go. Whether that's like codependency or not.
I see.
Because like I have a lot more fun when I'm just like, if it's just him and I. Like we've had nights where like we both have things to do, but instead we cancel our plans just because we want to come home and make margaritas together. You know, like because it's more fun just like hanging out with us. That's not to say that you should just get rid of your own lives. Yeah. Like it's very important to like maintain your own life and your own independence, your own friend. Yeah. So the importance of like having that friendship and having that respect for each other, you have to be able to be like, you know, like I don't need to ask for his permission to go to a party. Yeah. But I respect him enough to be like, hey babe, do we have any plans tonight? Yeah. Is there anything you want to do? You know, you don't know if he's got a surprise for you that night. Yeah.
So I'm hearing respect, and I think that's what it is. So it's not necessarily like you're being forced to, you know, have that person embedded in most of your decisions. It's more like that's what you do want to do. So I think that's nice. I guess for me, I have a problem with it. I have a problem with a lot of things. But I think the only thing for me is maybe because of the way I was raised, it's like my mom would be like, no. My parents are a bit strict. Now that I think about it, you don't realize that they're strict until
you're older.
You start to think about the things that they say. But yeah, my parents would definitely be like, you know, it's not a good idea. Obviously, yours worked for you, but like some of the issues where mainly, I know some of the things my people would mention is stuff like when you get so, you know, independent, or when you get so dependent on someone, it's if they do pick up and leave you. It's like it really messes with your life because you didn't even have a life separate of that person. You start to wonder, how did I live pre
that human.
Yeah.
Like when I was my first long-term relationship, we were together for 4 years. And like from the age of 17 to 21 or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So he's the reason I'm in Regina.
Yeah.
Here. I don't know if you put the city in here or not, but he's the reason that I live here.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember, like, after I had finally taken up the courage to break up with him, like, it was over so much later than what it should have been.
Did you feel like in a relationship you felt like you had to, like, you just had to keep trying to work on it, it'll get better? And
And I'm very much someone that, like, I will give you 1,000 chances.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I believe in the best in someone. I'm very trusting. I will give you 100% trust right off the go.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, me and this person, not that there was anything wrong with this human, we weren't meant for each other. We wanted different things long term. He had some issues that he had to work out, and I did too. I didn't know what independence was. I was 17 when we got together.
Wait, were you guys living together?
Yeah, we were living together. And I just remember after we had broken up, I was in the grocery store and I called my mom crying because I didn't know what kind of bread I liked. Because,
oh my God.
I know, because I was always out there getting groceries for him and what did he like and what was his favorite thing.
So your life was pretty much embedded in his. Yeah. So even down to groceries.
Yes. I had no idea if I liked crunchy peanut butter, if I liked smooth peanut butter, if I liked, rye bread or white bread. I had no clue. And so, like, I was able to, like, go through and, like, find this whole new world of, like, what is independence and, like, who am I really? Mm-hmm. And then 6 months later, I found my next boyfriend, which to me now, looking back, like, that was not near enough time.
100%. Yeah. You need time to heal. You need time to recover from what it is that you've been through. And you need time to learn as well. I think the learning piece is very important because, like, you just need to grow from where you once were, exactly, and taking 100%. Everything that happened from the previous relationship.
Yeah, and so, like, part of the reason that second relationship ended after 3.5 years was because I call it my quarter life crisis. But I was 25 and I switched my whole career path. I dyed my hair bright pink. I got my tattoo sleeve. Like, I completely changed who I was because I wasn't happy living someone else's life and someone else's fairy tale and someone else's expectation of me.
Oh, so you felt like, tell us more about that. So you felt like, so why did you feel like, so why was that drastic change? What triggered that?
I think it was just like I said, like, I turned 25 and when you kind of realize, like, oh, I'm in my mid-20s, like, this is like, you're going towards 30, like, I'll be 30 this April. Like,
it hits you hard.
It does. And I was working as a manager in a restaurant. He didn't want kids. Like, we didn't want any sort of life like that. It had been 3 years. We had went to Mexico. I thought he was going to propose in Mexico. Never happened. And I think, like, I just was like, you know what? Like, I'm not happy. I'm actually not happy. And sitting back and kind of realizing that and going through the motions of, like, trying to figure out, okay, well, if I'm not happy, is it because of him or is it because of our relationship or is it something that I can fix? And after a few months, realizing, like, you know what, like, it's just not working. We don't want the same things in life. This isn't who I am anymore. Like, I've become, again, someone that somebody else wants.
Yeah.
And so, like, once you kind of realize that, you're like, oh gosh, like, you kind of run.
Yeah.
It's like fight or flight at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we had, like, a really big fight. That was kind of like the solidifying moment for me. Yeah. And then we broke up, and then 2 years later I found Josh. So I took a nice long break. To find out who I was and what kind of bread I liked and what kind of peanut butter I liked.
I like that so much. Yeah. Oh my God, that is good.
Yeah.
Okay, so with all of that happened, what would you say were the red flags that you saw or maybe, like, ignored, especially with the last boyfriend where you already hit 21 and everything like that?
Yeah, like, I think with him, it was hard for me to see red flags because he was kind of the complete opposite of the first guy. So he always made me laugh and he always let me, he was never jealous, which in turn actually turned out to be a red flag. I started pushing boundaries really badly with him near the end, especially when I wasn't happy. So it was, oh, I'm going to a bar to hang out with a guy.
To get that reaction from him.
Which is like a negative. You shouldn't do that in a relationship. Like, that's, like I said, like, I was already unhappy at this point.
Yeah.
And he would just be like, okay, have fun. And, like, he was on his computer all day, every day. he had interests elsewhere that just, it wasn't us hanging out anymore at home. It was him doing his thing and me trying to figure out what I'm doing, working a full-time job, going to university on a career change that I just, had started. Like, that was very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like his unwillingness to communicate, we really didn't have any fights because we really didn't talk. Like, we really didn't talk to each other about our hopes and our dreams and our opinions on things. We were so okay with being content with each other that it was fine. We had a great friendship that was a relationship, and it turned into us just kind of being roommates at that point. Yeah. And I think like there's such an importance in relationships. There's so many different types of relationships that you have to be able to have like a Venn diagram. You have to have that friendship component. You have to have that strong relationship, that passion.
Guys, she's schooling us.
You have to be able to like see both, but like your key partner is someone that you can communicate with, that you're attracted to, no matter what. And someone that like shares your aspirations and your hopes and your dreams and actively tries to push you towards doing those things.
Yeah.
And like my ex, he never really, not that he didn't care, he was just like, okay, like it was always okay. It was do whatever you want. I'm not going to push you to do this.
Yeah.
Oh, if you want to quit. Like, do it.
Do whatever you want to do.
Oh, it's hard. Okay, quit. Like, don't do it. And in reality, like, he didn't want me to, I don't think he ever really wanted me to go to university. I don't think he really wanted me to ever join JDC West my first year. He just kind of was like, okay, do it. And if it's hard, quit, which is fine. But
sorry, I know it is fine that I know it's fine that people can support you, whatever you want to do. If you want to quit, sure, quit. If you want to, do something, sure, do something. But that nonchalant, behavior towards like that I feel is unacceptable.
Right.
I'm asking you for your opinions because I want to know what you truly think. Like, for instance, I'm going to join JDC West. I think it's going to be great. Okay, yeah, sure, support me, right? But at the same time, if I do feel like I'm getting a lot of pressure and you think I can manage it, don't just say, yeah, quit if you feel it's too difficult in a nonchalant way. Why don't we sit together, have like a conversation, try to see if there's any way that I can manage my stress to be able to finish whatever it is that I start. You just telling me quit? Yeah. I personally don't like quitting anything that I do, no matter how difficult it is for me. So I don't like, I personally, that's a big no-no for me. Yeah. Like when I find that someone is very like, what's the word? What word should I use?
Like nonchalant is a
exactly,
good word,
yeah. Then I get very uninterested. Yeah. It's also some form of disinterest. I like to say, like, they're not very interested in what's going on in your life, and that's why they're like, oh, go ahead, whatever you want to do.
Right. And I think like that's important too, is like now that I have Josh, like we have a very healthy relationship.
Yeah. So how would you say that healthy relationship differed, and how did you go and build that healthy relationship?
I think like one of the main things that we did was like we really established really strong groundwork like during the first year of knowing each other. It's not to say that it's not hard. It is hard to like build on groundwork, especially when at first like I was like, okay, let's have a relationship. Yeah. I was so used to just jumping right in. Yeah. And so like I always knew that I was going to end up with him. As ridiculous as that sounds. But I was always there for him and he was always there for me. Yeah. And so we really focused on being there for each other, as friends, establishing, okay, well, how do we communicate with each other?
Communication is key.
So key. And there's so many different ways to communicate and so many different communication styles. Some people, when you have a fight, Josh and I are very opposite. He would rather just not talk about it and just go and, cool down. Yeah. And I'm like, if I'm not talking about this, I am in my head, anxiety. Like, we need to have this conversation. Yeah. So we have to be able to, like, focus on okay, how do we communicate? How do we get past this so we're both okay? How can I let him be him, me be
You
me,
be you, yeah.
but still like effectively have that good communication so we can solve our problems?
Yeah.
So there was that. There's respecting each other. One of the key things that he said that was kind of a big green flag, I guess, for him.
Green. I like that.
A big green flag. I was like, let's do this. Was we were out at a bar one night, and we were friends at this point, and some guy sat down when Josh was off getting us beers. And the guy was like, oh, like, your boyfriend, like, what does he do? And I said, oh, he's going to be a police officer one day. And the guy was like, oh, well, aren't you worried about
what?
Well, about all the risks, you know, like,
oh yeah,
all the risks would come with being a cop. Why would you want to raise a family? This guy was a little bit interesting.
He just met you?
Just met me. Yeah, I had no idea who he was. He was sitting across, and he decided to come over here.
People ask invasive questions, like, why do you want to know all these things?
I know. So anyway, so this guy's asking me, like, why would you want to, you know, have a relationship with someone? Like, how does that make you feel? And as Josh was kind of coming back with the beer and sat down, I said, well, because I would rather be with someone who was passionate about their job and committed to their job, and this was something that they wanted to do, than someone who had a safe job sitting at a desk where they were miserable every day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, why would I ever want to be a partner with someone who would rather take the safe route than the one that they're passionate about?
Exactly. And like when people have issues with their jobs, when people start to hate their jobs, they take it out on their family members, which could potentially be you.
100%.
If you just like accept someone who is not passionate about what it is that they're doing. So yeah, definitely.
And I think you should push your partner into doing what they're passionate about.
Doing what they're passionate about.
100%. Like, Josh has always been so supportive. You know, I always knew I wanted to go into HR, so that was something that I really wanted. Now that I'm kind of going towards psychology as well.
Yeah. And that's such a good merge. You know, I forgot to say that. Like, I forgot to tell you that. Like, the fact that you did psychology and business is like... Sorry, psychology really and HR, it's like you really know people.
Yeah, and you get to know people being in HR really well.
Yeah.
You know, you work with all sorts of people. And having that background, like, Josh has always been like, if you want your master's, go for your master's.
Go get it.
If you want another career change or a shift, like, do it. Like,
not just whatever you want to do.
No, it's like whatever makes you happy.
Yeah.
And I'm someone that, like, I've been talking about, like, writing a book forever. I've been talking about starting a podcast forever. And he's always been like, he's never just been like, oh, well, quit, you know, if I'm like, oh, this is hard or this is exhausting.
Yeah.
It's been like, you can do it. Like, think about the things that, like, you're so good at this.
Push me to be better.
Exactly. And that's what a good partner does.
Exactly.
They are your life partner. They are not your parent. They are not someone to tell you what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
They are someone who... You're a team. Yeah. You're a team throughout life, and that's how you know you have a good partner.
Good partner, yeah.
Because you have to. If you're raising kids, if you're going through career changes, if you're traveling, like, you have to be with someone that is your partner.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to us. Christina here has impacted a lot of knowledge. But I'm very excited that I got a chance to like speak to you about this. I'm happy that you had like such a wonderful ending. And guys, if you're watching and you went through a bit of what Christina went through, just know that there's hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel. And if you have your own perspectives about what we talked about today, you know what to do. Leave a comment down below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends and family. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.